So in a previous video, we discussed 2 vocabulary words having to do with the bird's mouth or beak, and that was sear and nair, so you can go check out that video. I didn't talk about the point of the beak. We actually do trim. I mentioned that in the video, but there's actually a special word for that, and that is called coping. Coping a beak can be very tricky. There's very few birds that will just let you come up to them and clip off the point of their beak. So usually it's kind of a long process. We do have to usually hood them just for their safety and so that it's not too stressful on them. I have done it on top of a towel by restraining her from her feet, which you can't see right now because she's a little bit cold. There's a special way to handle raptors. I can hold them in one hand by their legs. I'm not sure if I'm going to teach that because you really can't just go do it from looking at it one day. Anyway, so we have to kind of wrap her wings. Like I said, I can either grab her and kind of collect her wings and put her on a towel and, you know, try to go in and cope the beak a little bit. Some people clip off the tip of this. Other people use a Dremel tool and they just kind of sand it down. That also helps to get the beak in the proper shape. Falcons, this is a red-tailed hawk. Falcons have a little extra notch on their beaks. The line of her mouth is very straight. You can see across there. Falcons, right where she has like a tiny little bump, they have a little, like a tooth. I think it's called a tooth or notch in their beak right there. That's typically because falcons hunt birds, and that little notch is perfect size for dispatching their prey. They can bite right behind the head and sever the spinal cord, etc. Hawks generally take ground quarry like rabbits and squirrels. However, there is a birding group of hawks. I don't believe they have a notched beak. My point is that there's different types of beak shapes. So if you are sanding down the beak with a Dremel tool, sometimes you can help shape that notch for falcons. I had a hybrid falcon that I worked with who had one side of his beak always grew longer than the other, and the notch would often get elongated, and it would sometimes block him from being able to close his mouth. So the Dremel tool was definitely needed in that case. For her, I usually just snip the tip of it. She sharpens it as she goes, eating, and they do kind of wipe their beaks off. There's another word for that too that I'll talk about in another video. But coping is the word for trimming or dremeling or just giving attention and trimming the beak, the tip of the beak. We don't really need to trim the bottom beak. If there's a medical situation, that's the only time I've heard of it. I know there's falconers that have had to, but I've worked with them, oh Jesus, for like 14 years now, and I've never had to dremel a bottom beak, even in the wildlife rehab settings. So, yeah, it's done, but it's not as common. And I believe that's all I have to say about coping. Go check out the video for nairs and sear. Thanks. So in a previous video, I talked about different parts of the bird's beak, or mouth, beak, I think.